to be restricted to be able to wear gloves, wear a mask to go outside, to be safe. Uh, but it's totally different.
What is your opinion about the coronavirus?
I think it's a very terrible situation. It's nobody outside that much. It's not that many people out there. Everybody's trying to do the best thing they can. It's not easy. It's very sad what's going on. There's a lot of death going on.
Do you think the coronavirus, its impact on New York has been different from other places in the country?
The primary thing worth discussing is the pandemic and demonstration of equity in terms of accessibility and who's really protected. Seeing businesses close, especially small businesses in New York City, being that we have so many immigrants, there are like a lot of mom and pop shops who aren't receiving the help that they need. Thinking about homelessness in New York City and the fact that our city got hit amongst the hardest in America, being that we are all quarantined, we're not really seeing that the train stations are like packed to capacity with homeless people. And I think it's just absurd.
How has your life or daily routines been altered by the coronavirus and by being quarantined?
Can't really do much. Barely go outside, and even though I can go outside, I barely do.
I have to wait for the trains to get to the station longer. Everybody has to be sit on the train where it's just 6 feet away from each other. Everybody's really taking that seriously. I just keep myself covered with a mask and gloves.
How have you found your interactions with other people different while being outside?
I think people are rightfully afraid. Like today, I went to the corner store and I was going out as someone was going in, and we kind of like crossed paths, and she kind of like apologized and like turned around while I walked past. And I think that's so interesting for a city like New York where we're like always packed like sardines.
I noticed that people make sure that they stand at a certain distance. And at the stores, they've made like one super long line instead of like multiple lines. And I don't know if that's really the most effective, but that's their guideline.
How has your employment been affected by the coronavirus?
I currently work for Macy's, but right now we've been put on a leave of absence.
Projects that I've been working on prior to the pandemic, of course, was cut short.
She works in a hospital, so how has she found the extra stress of like working in this moment?
At a point when it was coming towards its peak and at its peak, it was definitely probably the most stressful for all of the nurses. And she works at Elmhurst, so like.
So far, I've been going to work all the time since this thing, started, and seeing things happening in the place where you're at. It's terrifying. It's really terrifying.
How have you found the switch to online classes for you, and has it affected your learning?
Um, for me personally, it's become actually a little bit easier.
It's harder to focus when you have so many distractions around you. And I mean, it instills self-discipline, but only if you really care to learn about what you need to learn.
I feel like I'm able to manage my priorities in a way that's more tailored to how I want my schedule to be. Just because there's, me personally, we've had long-term due dates rather than like daily Zoom conferences.
Know anyone who has like gotten sick or passed away? during this time due to like Corona?
Me personally, no, actually.
My mom contracted coronavirus slowly. Like she started to develop a really high fever of like 102 degrees. And a friend of mine, her father contracted coronavirus, and he actually ended up getting pneumonia.
I currently have a friend who I work with in Macy's. They are currently sick. It's been kind of a struggle that they are, and I can't really be there to comfort them or support them. Currently, the last thing I heard from her was that she was heading to the hospital.
Some of the ways that you found your like overall like well-being been impacted by the pandemic.
Intimate relationships, it is strenuous, because again, physical contact to me taken for granted, because now when you want to see other people, you can't.
What are some of the things that you're doing specifically to take care of your well-being?
For the most part, I try to stay positive on despite what's going on. I make it my priority to still do what I have to do at the end of the day.
Because I kind of do have like a spiritual family, it's become more important that we pray to kind of like prevent any sickness. So we pray to like, ask for it to not come our way or anything like that.
Thing that I try to establish in my routines is the practice of affirmations. Not even necessarily to create anything for myself, but more to kind of align my thoughts with a positive footing for the day, and consciously taking control of my thoughts, especially in a time where resources are uncertain, teachers are uncertain, education is uncertain, which could be a very worrisome time for anyone.